Major Spoilers podcast covers news, reviews, and of course, spoilers, and goes into details about the topics discussed. So if you haven't read, listened, or watched the items we talk about, you might want to come back later.
I'm Matthew.
I'm Rodrigo.
And I'm Steven, and you're listening to the Major Spoilers podcast, the podcast for pop culture and comic fans.
In this issue, Kaiju in the Midwest, the Winchesters in their Impalma, and Darmok and Jalad at Tanagra. Well, maybe not that last one. Anyway, we're here. We're going to fiddle while Rome burns, defeat the devil in a last-minute save, and then it's time to get creepy. So join us for my TED Talk, The Monster Mash, a great song no matter what the season, because the Major Spoilers podcast is on the air.
Welcome to issue 1147 of the Major Spoilers podcast. Thank you so much for downloading and checking us out this week. I want to send a special thanks out to all of our patrons. Thank you so much for keeping us going all these years. If you are a patron at the $10 level or higher, I've got the new VIP chat coming up this weekend. You're going to want to check it out because we're going to be talking about mergers and what's going on with our server. You can find out more by heading over to patreon.com/majorspoilers, where you can even get the Major Spoilers podcast pre-show, where this week we talk about Matthew's journeys into Reddit, my problems with blind bags, and we trigger Rodrigo with some Magic the Gathering talk again.
Yeah.
Let's do some reviews.
All right.
So I almost, Matthew, reviewed this because I'm now up to episode 11 of season 1 of Supernatural that I've been watching since, I don't know, the beginning of the year or something.
Wow.
So yes, I've finally dipping my toes into the world of a television show that lasted 20 seasons, something like that, 15 seasons.
Yeah,
And,
like 15 seasons that ended 10 years ago.
Yeah, and now there's a comic-y book.
There is a comic-y book, Supernatural #1 from Dynamite Entertainment, written by Greg Pak, drawn by Eder Messias, I believe. I will say one thing, and it does frustrate me. The cover image that I got has a car that looks very much like a mutated
Charger.
Ford Mustang.
Yeah.
It's definitely not the Impala that the Winchester boys drive, but that's neither here nor there. So, Supernatural #1. You got your Dean Winchester. You got his brother, Sam Winchester. You got the devil, and the devil is trying to kill things, and bad things have happened. Their father was once a monster hunter, a demon monster hunter. I watched the first 2 seasons about 15 years ago. That's basically what I remember. This story is interesting to me because I feel like there are references here that I don't get from later in the season. That's probably a good thing if you are a long-term fan. I will also say that I have some issues with the character designs because when you watch the show, Dean, who's the tall, sexy one, is taller than Sam, who is the brush-headed, sexy one. And that doesn't seem to be the case here. I'm not sure of the time frame in this story.
I think if I remember, this is set between seasons 1 and 2.
Okay. That may be it then. So this is a point where all in all, the, for lack of a better word, the early installment weirdness hasn't quite worked out of the story. And I feel like it's here in this story, which does kind of work. You know, it's young characters. I am very, very frustrated with the way the car, which is a major character, is drawn in the issue. And I feel like the art is a lot looser, a lot more cartoony than I would necessarily be preferring to see. I don't know if you guys remember the X-Files book that Charlie Adler did for Topps a million years ago. I was expecting something more like that. This really is more of this feels Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle adjacent art, which is fine. It is well done art. The story does get your attention, and it does give you enough to understand what's going on. For me, though, when it all shakes down and when I get to the end of this issue, I have to go with 2.5 slices of meatloaf. I don't necessarily feel like I'm going to rush right out in a buying frenzy for the next issue. It was enjoyable for me. And I feel like if you just love the Supernatural from top to bottom, this will probably appeal to you. It didn't quite get there for me, and not just because I want an Impala, but partly because I want to see an Impala when they say it's an Impala.
I don't know if, like, if you want to point out and say, hey, I want to use a BMW in this comic book, or if I want to use an Impala in this comic book, if you got to go to like the Ford Motor Company or Chevy or BMW or whatever and say, hey, can we use your car in, likeness? Or if a car is just like, that's tough.
I mean,
I don't know how that works. I know how likeness rights work, and there may not be likeness rights to the actors that played Dean and Sam, but I don't know about cars.
They definitely don't have Dean and Sam's likenesses in this, but I seem to remember when Marvel gave Robbie Reyes specifically a '68 Dodge Charger, the editors specifically telling people do not draw a '68 Dodge Charger. I remember that because at one point there was a whole issue where they kept talking about the Hell Charger, and what he was drawing was a Dodge Challenger from the back and like a Ford Mustang from the front.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that it's something that the artist can't draw an Impala. I think it is something where the artist didn't for whatever reason, and it may be, like you say, there may be some sort of, I don't know about likeness or some sort of issues if you're going to do it.
I always thought it was like a positive thing, right, as opposed to a negative thing. Like if you put an Impala in this, you're going to get sued. I thought it was the other way around. Like, hey, can we get money from Chrysler or
I mean, that's how
their car in here.
Yeah, sometimes it works that way. Maybe they just were like, no, we don't want anything to do with it. So
yeah.
Well, I do believe that all of the Chevrolet badging was removed from the car in the show.
Yeah.
So I don't think it had because like a classic Impala would have a Chevrolet symbol in the grille and I think one on the trunk lid. And they never did have that in the television show. So make of that what you will.
Yeah. Interesting. Thank you. Also out this week from IDW Publishing, it's Godzilla versus America, Kansas City. Now, Godzilla is really hot. Everybody is licensing Godzilla for this thing or that thing. Godzilla destroys DC. Godzilla destroys Marvel. Godzilla takes on Spider-Man. This week, Godzilla takes on Kansas City, Missouri, for those of you who are really wondering. And not a great comic book. I'll say that. Certainly, they got a lot of Kansas City creators, both writers and artists, in on this book. It is an anthology book, and I think that is where the biggest problem lies, in that everybody wants to destroy Kansas City, but with each book, we get to see Godzilla destroy Bartle Hall. We get to see Godzilla destroy, whatever the big landmark is, the convention center where Planet Comic-Con is going on. So it's like 3 different times we get to see Godzilla destroying the exact same landmark, and it's a completely different story. Also, there's this great one at the end. I mean, this is all kind of silly. All these stories are silly. They're not like scary at all. At one point, how they get Godzilla out of Kansas City is the Chiefs Stadium and the Royals Stadium create a tornado and blow Godzilla out of Kansas City. Also, there's barbecue monsters because Kansas City is associated with barbecue. And so there's all these barbecue sauce monsters that appear, and Godzilla is fighting them, and the people are fighting them. And I get it. You want to brand your city in hopes that people will buy this comic book at $8. And maybe people will think differently about Kansas City, but I have the same thing that if it's the next one is Godzilla takes on Denver, it'll be the same thing. It is, I don't like the art. I find the stories lacking. And maybe they will sell this at the Kansas store. The Kansas store is a chain of stores that sell Kansas branded merchandise. But I don't see. If you're into Godzilla, by all means, pick this up. If you're really into Godzilla completionist, but otherwise, this is really a big skip for me. I didn't want to go any lower than a 2 slices of meatloaf, mainly because I can cover it in that Kansas City barbecue sauce monster. But it's overpriced. It's overhyped. I didn't find it funny. So there you go. Godzilla versus America, Kansas City, out this week from IDW Publishing. Now, don't get me wrong. IDW Publishing has a lot of other Godzilla books that are much more interesting than this one. This one's a gimmick comic, and usually I'm not a big fan of gimmick comics. So there you go.
I appreciate that you specified that it's Kansas City, Missouri.
Oh,
It's
no,
like,
they make sure in the comic book to say, everybody knows that Kansas City is Kansas City, but we're talking about Missouri because only the true people know that Kansas City is in Missouri. And it's like, well.
yeah, it's like Godzilla suddenly finds himself in Overland Park and is like, oh, ew, ew, ew. And runs back east.
Yeah, no, I was waiting for something like that, but no, they tell you right up front. No, this is the Missouri side of Kansas City. So he doesn't step foot in Wyandotte County at all. So there you go. Rodrigo, what do you have for us this week?
This week I have Circus Maximus #1.
Okay.
It's a Mad Cave book. Comes out November 5th. This is a story that takes place in the High Roman days during the reign of Nero. Like just full on. It's a historical.
Nice.
And we start meeting these separate characters, and we suddenly start seeing how they come together. And as I'm reading this, I'm like just getting progressively more and more like excited about it, because I'm like, wait, is this a heist? Are you gonna give me a Roman times heist? And by the end of the first issue, the answer is kind of no. Or it wasn't an Ocean's 11 except set in Rome thing, which is kind of what I was hoping for as the thing was unfolding. But this is an interesting group of characters. The Roman Empire was very diverse, so it has all of these kind of marginalized groups that are sort of seeking some sort of restitution and can maybe get out of Rome with some money that didn't belong to them originally, or the characters that belong to these groups can get out of Rome with some money before some historical events happen. It was fun. Again, a little disappointed, but that's kind of my own fault for just kind of getting hyped about something that could have been, you know what I mean? It's like, you kind of get excited and like, oh, are they going to do this? It's like, no, they're doing something different. It's like, that's not their fault. I'm going to give it 3 slices of meatloaf. Art is very good. Characters are fun. It's interesting. I'm not a historian. I couldn't tell you how historically accurate it is, but it's historically accurate enough that at no point was I like, wait a minute, why does that guy have a tomato? Tomatoes weren't invented yet.
So we have a preview of Circus Maximus over at the Major Spoilers website to go check out. How many slices of meatloaf are you giving this?
3 slices.
Okay. Like you, normally when Rodrigo says the solicitations say this, and it tells you everything about the comic. When I read the solicitation and put the preview up on Major Spoilers, I was like, heck yeah, a heist movie set during the height of the Roman Empire, or the collapse of the Roman Empire, and the Nero set fire to the place. This is going to be exciting. And now you're telling me it's not a heist comic book?
I mean, it's like maybe you can get this of a heist. Like, there's like basically 2 types of heist shows / movies. It's like the heist goes well and then goes sideways at the very end, and you see the characters sort of like improvise it, or the heist goes sideways immediately.
Yeah.
So if you do want to see it that way, you can see it as the second. Like basically, there's a plan that does not in any way come together initially. But yeah, it is not. Like, if you're hoping for something like Leverage or something like Ocean's 11, but set in Roman times, this is not it.
Okay. All right. There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, you can check out more reviews over at majorspoilers.com. And if you are so inclined to buy any of the books that we talked about, especially that $8 Godzilla book, we have an Amazon affiliate link that you can click on. A little bit comes back our way, which means we'll probably get 40 cents if you buy that Godzilla versus America Kansas City book. We'll only get like 20 cents if you buy the Supernatural #1 book. And we won't get any cents from Circus Maximus #1. because Mad Cave doesn't have that comic book up on Amazon yet. So there you go.
So there's no sense to be made of it.
No sense to be made of it, although I'm sure it's a fun book. Okay. Question. Now that we've been talking about heists, do you guys have a favorite heist movie?
Yes.
Okay, what do you have?
But it is probably one of the most basic, and I'm probably going to get a pumpkin spice latte response.
Okay.
I love the cast of the Oceans movies. And while I'm a huge fan of Oceans 8 and I have an appreciation for Oceans 11, my favorite heist movie is Oceans 13 for two reasons. One, for the first time, these criminals and malcontents and ne'er-do-wells are driven by something that feels close to altruism, because they're not out for money. They're not out to put one over on Terry Benedict. They're out to get even with Al Pacino for screwing over Elliot Gould's character. And Elliot Gould, who is at this point a very, an old elderly man, throughout the film, you worry that Elliot Gould's character is going to die. You're like, oh my God, is Ruben going to die? And the rest of the crew comes together so that they can get revenge for Ruben. And having that personal stake, for me, makes it the most reliable, the most likable. Plus, Susie Izzard is in it. And I don't know if you're familiar with Susie's work, but there's a scene where, oh no, the tech wizard, he's been arrested. What's going to go on? And then they cut, and then you see Susie coming in, and whatever is going on, it's that moment of, oh, everything you thought was happening was wrong. Huge fan, huge Izzard fan from, way back in the day. So I love that one. The only thing that it lacks is Rihanna. And that's the one thing that Ocean's 8 has over Ocean's 13 is Rihanna.
All right. Rodrigo, what about you? Do you have a favorite heist movie?
Yeah. So first off, quick mention again of Leverage, which is a heist TV show, which is a comfort watch for me.
Right.
But nowadays, my favorite heist movie is actually Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. It is a pretty fast-paced, good. It has everything. It has action scenes. It has that heist, spiciness, funny characters. Things go wrong all the time. You have it's a broad spectrum of very highly capable characters and characters that have no business being there.
Yeah.
It's actually lots of fun, and it got done dirty. So if it's still on Netflix, people should watch it. It's actually a very good little heist movie.
Yeah, it is. It is a very good one. I like both of these that you have mentioned. My favorite is not any of the Ocean's movies, but it is directed by Steven Soderbergh, and that's Logan Lucky. This is a 2017 movie, which on the surface, if you are not a fan of NASCAR or I don't want to say hillbilly, but the lower intelligence type movies, then you probably will not enjoy Logan Lucky. But I went in going, okay, I got nothing better to do. I want to watch Logan Lucky only because it's got James Bond and Magic Mike and Kylo Ren all playing these Southern people with backgrounds, and they're not super intelligent, although Daniel Craig's character is probably the smartest one of the group. He is also somewhat of a supremacist, but they're going to rob this motor speedway, and it is the funniest dang heist movie I have seen. And it works very, very well on all levels. I think you have a greater appreciation for it. Like I said, if you are a NASCAR fan, I think you'll really love this. If you are a fan of the group of people who are not too smart, but still kind of pull it off, you'll probably like this as well. I don't think it is insulting to either NASCAR fans or, idiots. I don't think it's insulting to them. But it is a fun heist movie. And I really think Soderbergh, I don't want to say that he has captured the heist movie genre and has claimed it on his own. But if you look at all the movies that he has done that are heist movies, they are all really, really good. The other one that he did, the one that was a Netflix original, I want to say, is just insanely good. Is it? No, I think it's on HBO Max. No Sudden Move, I believe, is the one that I'm thinking of. That one is really, really good as well. But definitely, if you guys haven't seen Logan Lucky, go check out Logan Lucky. It's worth it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, maybe you have a favorite heist movie that you want to recommend. Head over to the Major Spoilers Discord server. You can join the Discord server for free. Jump in the Major Spoilers podcast channel and talk about your favorite heist movie or anything else that we've talked about. And when you're done with that, oh man, you can join the hundreds of awesome listeners who are already getting extra shows, behind the scenes gossip, and of course, early episodes. You could be one of those hundreds of awesome people by just becoming a patron at the $5 a month level at patreon.com/major spoilers. Don't wait until next week's episode to join. Sign up today. Start enjoying the bonus content the moment you do. Patreon.com/major spoilers. It is the Halloween season, and we have been reading some somewhat scary books the last couple of weeks. We did Batman and Etrigan. We did The Intersect, which is kind of creepy. And this week, we're definitely nailing the creepiness factor with the Creepy Archives Volume 11 from Dark Horse Comics. This collects issues 51 through 59 of the Warren Publishing Creepy Comics series. These stories were all done in the 1970s, and there's, 400 plus pages of comics in here. So I just told everybody, just jump around, get up and get down, and find some stories that you find interesting or unusual or whatever that we wanted to talk about. And I want to start off by saying the art in this book is really, really good. You've got like Frank Frazetta, Richard Corbin, Doug Munch, a whole bunch of other people. There is this 70s style of art that is in this book that is it called Pulp Librarian on Twitter, that they call women in nightgowns running from gothic mansions. So it's all, if you know those kind of books and the covers of those books, that is kind of the aesthetic that you get in the art in this volume. And I just love that 70s highly detailed black and white kind of gothic kind of style. It just oozes through every page of this book. And I really appreciate that a lot.
I think that for me, my favorite part of reading this is seeing some of the classics, some of the giants of the EC Comics era, 20 years earlier, still killing it, still just absolutely delivering it, because the very first issue I think that we read, aside from a lot of the people who were part of the Filipino invasion of the early 1970s,
right?
Because I know that Esteban Maroto is in here, and Adolfo Ucero is in here. But there are just absolutely gorgeous moments in I think it's issue 55 from Reed Crandall, who actually worked for Fawcett Comics back in the day. And, of course, Fawcett Comics is 20 years ago to these guys, 1973, which is for us the equivalent of 2005. So there's your feeling old for the day. But my favorite, there is a Wally Wood story in here. You guys, do you know Wally Wood?
Yeah, of course. Who doesn't know Wally Wood? I mean, I don't know him personally. I mean, he's kind of like, I think he passed away before I was able to meet him. But
yeah, he died when we were 9. So
I could have still met him when I was 9.
Years. You could have.
I met President Ford.
Well, sure, but I mean,
that's fun.
I mean, who didn't? President Ford, right?
I was nearly murdered at a Bob Dole rally once, but that's neither here nor there. But sorry. Wally Wood is known for 3 things: Wally Wood is known for his 20 panels that always work, which was a little shortcut guide that he drew, sort of half tongue in cheek for people. If you're having trouble with your layouts, here's 20 panels that always work. Wally Wood is also known for his motto, never draw what you can trace, never trace what you can copy, never copy what you can cut and paste from something else. So Wally Wood was a big believer, theoretically, in here are shortcuts, here are things you can do, here's stuff that can, make your work a little easier. And then you see the man draw, and you see the story just, oh my God, rolling off.
Which story is
it? It is in issue 55. It is called, make it back to the beginning of it. Prelude to Armageddon. Actually, I think it's in 50. Yeah, it is in 55. So it comes right after the Grey Morrow story, which is kind of the spacey thing. Let me see if I can find it. It is on.
That's fine.
Yeah, but it's beautiful. So beautiful. Now, I am a dilettante when it comes to any of the Warren Publishing books. All of the Warren books, especially all of the creepies that I have, are actually because of weird one-off superheroes in them somewhere. And so I'm not necessarily someone who sits down and just reads a creepy. But I'm kind of glad we did, because these are like, did you ever see the like those? There were 70s movies that came out of Hammer Horror in Britain. Yeah, and they were all over the TV when I was a kid, and they all felt ancient and strange and alien and fascinating in ways that I can't really. That's what this was. This was like comic books from another age in a way that actual old comic books don't feel like.
Yeah. Rodrigo, what do you think of the art in this?
Oh, it's incredible. I think it's worth getting just for the art. It's pretty rare that I saw a story where I was like, oh, I don't like this art. There were a couple ones, but they're so minor, right? It's like it's just a drop in the bucket of like just story after story after story of just like excellent art, one way or another, right? Either like some like very cool, sexy, like pinup stuff to like hyper warped, kind of scary, spooky monster stuff. Like there's just so much good stuff in this.
Yeah.
Richard Corbin.
The part of the art that I don't like, and it's I think because we get so much glorious black and white stuff, where the art falls apart for me is anytime we have any color pages in this book. And there's about maybe 6 stories maybe that are in full color, quote unquote, full color in this book. The opening pages is like a tinted comic in purple, but then there's some color comics, and it just, for whatever reason, doesn't work for me. And I think that those stories are kind of ugly just in how they're rendered out with that color. Maybe if you were reading it on the original newsprint, it looks much better. I should say we're reading a digital copy that Dark Horse sent us. Creepy Archives Volume 11 does not come out until November 11th. So we're actually reading this a couple of weeks ahead, although these collections, 51 through 59, were separate volumes, 2 separate volumes before. The other art that kind of was off-putting is anytime they had kind of like a smooth shading, it's almost like they tried to take the color out, but that grayish mush still stuck around. I didn't like it when they did that. I just like the straight scratchy pen and ink stuff that we have in these. Those are the ones that make the prettiest stories, and also some of the scariest ones.
Having read the original books, I will tell you, it is startling to see white backgrounds, because
because by the time with age,
by the time I ever got a hold of any of the creepy, they're going to be at least yellow. Usually they're going to be brown with lots of foxing around the corners, and that actually helps. I don't know if you guys know this. I'm terribly allergic to mold. But if you want to be super creeped out by a book, read a book that literally makes you sick as you're watching it. You're reading the book and you're like, oh my God, I feel like, oh, my whole head is going to explode. That actually adds to the experience. But
yeah.
Oh, this is so scary. My lungs are closing.
Yeah. So one of the stories that has that kind of rendering that I'm not a fan of is the creature of Loch Ness, which I was really surprised because I know Doug Munch a lot from Batman stuff. He writes 90% of the comics in this collection. And so I was really surprised. But the Loch Ness one, you see that these like big washes of gray across everything as they try to give it tone and shape. And it's a story about these guys that are going out to try to find the Loch Ness monster. And of course they think they've come across it. It just turns out to be a rubber inflatable doll. And then the real Loch Ness monster attacks this guy at the end. And they don't believe that it's real. They still don't believe it's real by the end. So that's the kind of that wash color that and it's not color, it's gray, that I don't care for in this book. But the other stuff is really cool. In fact, there's another story, The Night the Creatures Attacked. It's just a 2-page, and they do this several times. They don't do it in every issue that's collected here, but like every second or third issue, they will have like ripped from the headline stories. And The Night the Creatures Attacked is the tale of the Hopkinsville goblins, the UFO sighting that took place in Hopkinsville. And they're basically just recounting, the Kentucky goblins. They're basically retelling that story and putting it into comic book form in over 2 pages. There's another one, I think it is maybe the first story is also another one of those kind of ripped from the headlines type tales that we see in there. And those are actually quite fun. The another one that I really, really liked was the one where the hippie dude is in London. I think he's in London. And the nuclear bomb goes off and he's like, far out, man. I'm going to have to go out and survive because I'm the only man alive. Then he finds his best friend. He finds a dog that he's going to go with him. And they go and they find all this food and they're living and thriving. He goes, man, if I just had a beautiful woman. And sure enough, there's a beautiful woman laying passed out in the road because she doesn't have enough food. And they're going to go live in a cave together. And then they run out of food. And so they start eating some of the contaminated food. They also turn into zombies. And unfortunately, the man is not able to. He starts to turn into a zombie as he is approaching a town of humans. And he's trying to tell them, don't eat the bad meat. You're also going to turn into a zombie. But it's too late because the humans have killed him too.
It's too late.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Yeah.
You know, the irony, the last story.
Probably lack of irony is what turned him into zombies.
No, the irony, the very last story, the Christmas story, December 24th. Yeah. You know what that has in it?
I don't know. What does it have in it? I mean, I read it. But...
Chevy Impala.
Oh, does it? Okay.
Sorry. I just thought that was funny.
Yeah. You have a favorite story?
I think, honestly, and this is not to be contrarian, the color story where the guy is going to hell, and I think it's just called The Gates of Hell. It's bright.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to say orange.
Yeah, orange and green.
Yeah. Yep. Esteban Maroto. And painted colors on Maroto is just, so pretty. Honestly, the one thing that having this much, any anthology book together like this is it does kind of not necessarily run together, but there are times where you're like, how did that story? Oh, wait, that story ended. No, that was the other one. So I have a little bit of the point where the giant robot from space was about to commit suicide. And then we cut into the devil worshippers on the weird island. So I'm like, are those the same story? No, they're not. But yeah, I kind of like all of this. I mean, I feel like there are weaker links, but there are no actual weak links.
There's a story that has a really bad title, but it's these two guys wash up on this island and they discover it's full of little people, and they realize that, we are on Lilliput. And they're like, we think that all of these little Lilliputians have turned into vampires. Well, we're big and giant. We can take care of this vampire infestation. And so they rub out all of the little vampires in Lilliput, And they're like, I guess we should go on to the next adventure, not realizing that the next place that Gulliver landed in his travels was the land of the giants. And they land, and it's full of giant vampires. Yeah, it's great. Rodrigo, do you have a favorite story or some stories that stand out in your mind?
Some of the standouts, I think there's one called Consumed by Ambition, which is about this vampire in Venezuela.
Mm-hmm.
And basically this guy is a vampire, and he's like, I'm living in Venezuela, and like this is a life, there are no other vampires, I can eat whoever I want. And then he ends up turning another European guy, and the young European guy kills the original vampire, and he's like, haha, now I am the only vampire. And he goes and attacks the populace, but he gets stabbed and starts bleeding, and then like these voracious ants start following the blood trail.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so the whole thing is framed because there's these two vampire skeletons, but only one of them has a stake through the heart. So then you find out that like the only way to kill a vampire is to drive a stake through its heart. So the other vampire didn't die. He just got devoured and has like no muscles, so it can't move. So it's just a skeleton, but it's still alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember getting to that one.
Yeah, that's a classic one. There's also the one where a guy tries to arrest a demon. That one's good. There's a lot of weird ones and good ones. If you like your Cthulhu stuff, there's like
there's a couple of those.
Yeah.
There's a couple of those too. So
there is
one Innsmouth story that literally takes place in Innsmouth, so that's kind of cool.
I also like the Bell of King Sai, which is this story about Kublai Khan wanted the greatest bell to be made, and he couldn't. This guy couldn't make it because it kept coming out with a crack in it, and so he was sacrificing things to all the gods, and finally he still couldn't do it. And finally, the god of bells shows up and said, "You didn't sacrifice anything to me. I'll take your daughter and give you the perfect bell." And so now, whenever you ring it, people go mad because instead of the gong of the bell, all you hear is the screams of the daughter inside the bell. That one was good. I will say that when it comes to creepy tales, I like your traditional horror stuff, which you get in here, right? You get your Lovecraft stuff, you get your vampires, your werewolves, your weird Western stuff. The ones that do fall apart for me, though, in this book are the ones that go into the realm of fantasy. And there's a couple of those that are set in fantasy worlds, with wizards and stuff. And I'm just like, I don't find those very creepy. And that's just, and same way with the space stuff. The one about the robot, I was just like, that's not scary enough for me.
Yeah, I think so. This book is called Creepy.
Yeah.
And a lot of the stories are creepy, but part of the reason why they're creepy is because they are so otherwise realistic, right? It's like there's a werewolf or there's a witch or something like that. But generally speaking, they take place in the real world, maybe in the past, maybe today, today being the 70s. But it's like you're moving another dial when you set them in the future or in a fantasy world. Is like it might be like a cool adventure story, but then you have this like very short adventure story about a world that you don't know much about. Right. It's like a big advantage of these creepy stories is that because they all take place in the real world, nobody has to explain what like an insurance agent is or a banker or anything like that, right? You just already know, or like an undertaker, you already know who these characters are and what their job and place in society is. But in fantasy worlds, it's like, should I be worried about those giant rats? Is that like a normal thing? Like, are they just in the background because they look cool? What's going on here?
Yeah, and I think part of that comes around because in 73, especially when it comes to things that weren't like, we say big 2 comics now, but I think in those days it was technically more like a big 3.5. But when you have books like the Warren titles, they kind of throw everything at the wall. DC, if you ever read like House of Mystery, there were occasionally House of Mystery would have like, oh, this should be a Secrets of the Unknown, or wait, this should be something from, Adventuring Worlds. But I feel like the Lord of the Rings, the Hobbit, the Dungeons and Dragons were huge.
Oh, sure.
In this particular era. And it's interesting to see that stuff pop up and go, is this just like Tolkien with an evil Outer Limits twist at the end?
Yeah, pretty much.
Sometimes yes. And that actually kind of fascinates me too. It's that question that we see occasionally on one of our other podcasts, the Legion Clubhouse. What's in, the zeitgeist? What's in the mind of the public? For me, I feel like the ones that actually fall apart for me are the ones that try too hard to be like gothic neoclassical stuff, where it's like, oh, in the days of we lived in all of our castles. There are a couple of them in here where I'm just like, because I just feel like evil Bridgerton.
Yeah. So,
but even then, you look at the art and it's like,
yeah, the art really makes it up for it, in my opinion. Now, so beyond the stories, and there's some really great ones and some maybe, and everybody's going to have their own favorites and the ones that they like a lot less. But the other thing that I find fascinating that Dark Horse did in this collection is they actually kept all of the ads in. So you'll go through and you'll get to the, like Get the Dog Whistle, or the ones that I find amazing are, hey, here are all these 8mm movies that you can buy, like The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad. You could have paid $15 in 1970s to get 1/4 of the Voyage of Sinbad, and you could buy all 4 of the entire movie for basically, what is that, $60 back in the day, and run that through your 8mm projector. And there's stuff like Frankenstein is in this stuff. They've got scary movies, sci-fi movies. It's just crazy to go back and read through a lot of these ads from back in the day, which I think somebody, and maybe Fantagraphics or somebody has already done that. It would be fascinating for someone to create a collection of just comic book ads from different time periods so that you could see, the X-ray specs or the whatevers. But when you get an 8mm, when you can buy an 8mm version of the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari for $35 for an hour and 25 minutes or an hour and 15 minutes of stuff, 5 big reels, 1,000 feet, showing time, a full 1 1/4 hours. It's 8mm, but 8mm was the VHS of the 1970s. I just find a lot of those ads just fascinating to look through.
There's one where you can buy a monkey.
Yeah. Yes. What's really wonderful about those ads, the ads specifically like the horror masks and the movies, the 8mm movies.
Yeah.
You're actually buying them from Warren. Warren Publishing had, it was called Captain Company. And it was actually just mail fulfillment. So if you were like the mail order division, you can work for Warren Publishing. I know that Dave Cockram's wife, Patty, I believe at one point was the person doing all of the orders for Captain Company, which was itself Warren Publishing. So if you were like going and buying your own copy of Trog, you would actually get that from the people that made this comic, which may be the reason why so many of the ads are actually able to be in here, because they literally belong
everything
to the same entities that owned the stories.
I mean,
I'm not sure if Warren is
Perpetual Motion Solar Engine. What do we have? Yes. Watch the Miracle of Birth Before Your Eyes, which is basically like a incubator for chicks. Monster Ring, and the Mystery Man mask, which was just basically a ski mask with the top cut off so your hair could stick out.
Like Cyclops.
Yeah, crazy stuff, man. Crazy stuff. All right, so this comes out on November 11th. It's got a $25 price tag for it. I don't remember if this is hardcover. I think it is hardcover. What's the final thought from you guys?
For me, this is a rush right out in a buying frenzy. If you can really sit down and afford it. What's the cover price on this?
$25.
25. Okay. I was thinking back in the day where DC's archives were like $50. Definitely for $25, this is a rush right out in a buying frenzy, because this is something where you can sit and you can look at these short stories. 73, Doug Munch would have just broken into the industry. He's like maybe 20, just moved to New York City. So this is something where you're seeing old creators. I don't want to say old, but you're seeing, established veteran creators like Crandall and all of the EC guys just killing it. You've got Wally Wood, who's been in the industry for years. You've got guys like Maroto. You've got guys coming in from the Philippines. You've got brand new creators. You've got Richard Corbin doing Richard Corbin stuff a good 7 or 8 years before I thought there was Richard Corbin stuff to do. Honestly, anybody who is into comics history, you can sit down and go through this and enjoy it as a read or pick it apart. And either way, you're going to be entertained.
Yeah. Rodrigo, thoughts from you?
Yeah, get it. It's worth getting just for the art. $25 is really reasonable for the amount of content that you're getting here.
400 plus pages, 450 pages in this thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm gonna get this and leave it in a medium high shelf for my nephews to find, so that comics can contaminate their brains in the way that they did me.
Yeah.
Because I definitely found like my mom's like Turoks and Westerns and like Greek mythology.
God, you had a cool mom.
Yeah. My grandma was into comics, man. She loved that stuff. We had like El Santo stuff, like Kaliman, right?
Yeah,
I love Kaliman. Yeah,
very cool. So I agree. I think that this, if you can get one of these, and again, this is volume 11, which means that there's 10 other volumes before this, or you can get them in the smaller forms. This volume 11 is technically the paperback 11 and 12 or whatever. But for $25, that's really good. And so you might want to go through and look for these other collections. What I like about this is they are short stories. And if you try to sit down and read this in one setting, your brain's going to turn to mush. But it is something that is really nice to just pick up, flip through, find a story, read it, set it back down, come back, another day, flip through it, find another story, put it back down. I think this has a long-term reading experience attached to it. This is not like a floppy that you read it once and bag and board it or do whatever you do with your single issues. But I like these big volumes that have all of these tiny stories because you can just consume them whenever you want, whenever the mood strikes. And so for that reason, I think Creepy Archives Volume 11 from Dark Horse Comics, out November 11th, is definitely a must-read from me. And that's where we're going to wrap it up this week. Thank you so much for listening. If you found some value in the show, we would love for you to join us on our Patreon page, where you can find even more fun, including the Major Spoilers Podcast pre-show. If you listen to the pre-show and then this show, it's like you're listening to a big, long conversation nonstop. You can find all of that at patreon.com/Major Spoilers. So until next time, remember, we know that you love comics, and we do too, and we will talk with you soon.
If I had the X-ray vision of a Superman, I could save a few bucks and stand around and read through the covers of the comics on the stand. But although every other page would be backwards, I suppose, I could still read the evens and the odds. Well, I don't know. Guess I haven't thought this all the way through. Plus, as soon as the comic book store guy knew, he kicked my butt out on the corner. What a major spoiler. What a major spoiler. Think about a better way. If I was hulking green or gray, I could just bust through that brick wall, take their comic books away. But then the little meat would deal with all the tanks and bombs and guns. Have you ever tried to read a series with all that going on? Guess I need to rethink this plan. How would I bag and board my comics with such huge hands? Guess I already told ya. What a major spoiler. What a major spoiler. Yeah, yeah, yeah. What a major spoiler. What a major spoiler. If I'm Stark Raven rich like a man of iron, I might not be surprised to find that I might actually have the heart cold to follow an entire storyline. But would I really even need to read up on all those escapades? I mean, who needs such distractions when your sister's such a babe? But the downside is such a beast. shot up in a fun bee in the Middle East with a gang sign throwing soldier. What a major spoiler! What a major spoiler! Yeah, yeah, yeah! What a major spoiler! Whoa, 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 whoa! What a major spoiler!
This podcast is copyright 2025 by Major Spoilers Entertainment, LLC.